There's a whole bunch of western pond turtles. Let's give them a big hand. So the release will be just this moment, really. It's getting to kind of interact with the turtles, see them, ask some questions, and then that wave goodbye, bon voyage kind of thing.
As of a few hours from now, there should be 28 western pond turtles here in Mountain Lake, which is going to be the first western pond turtles that have been here in a very long time.
We kind of came up with this little project to look at stress levels in the animals from the zoo and that are being released into the wild. And we take an initial blood sample from the animals at the zoo, and then we put the transmitters on, we move them to the lake to release them, and we took another sample. And then we can look at how the concentration of corticosterone, that's just the stress hormone, in the blood will change over handling periods or transport periods or release periods. So Dana's thing, he is looking at the differences between a hard and soft release. So, hard release is where you just bring the animals right into the water and you let them go, and hopefully they'll make it. Where soft release, you give them a little bit of time to acclimate to the environment in an enclosure that's safe and protected from predators.
It seems intuitive that probably the ones who've been able to acclimate are going to do better, and that's the hypothesis, but we got to test it. So that's what we're doing.
What we can do with this stress level thing is to look at the difference between those two guys. So we can see if there really is a positive reaction from the animals to be sort of held in a safe place and given food before they're let out and just to wander around on their own. So we will be able to detect that number that we want to find out if it's returning to baseline and is doing well, or if it's maybe too stressed to calm down and find the food it needs or reproduce. And we'll be continuing this, Dana will be continuing this monitoring of the stress levels into the future for the next few months to make sure that they do acclimate appropriately and they return to the baseline levels that we saw at the zoo.
We have a number of different ways of identifying this turtle. So first off is we have a notching system. So we have a little notches on their shells, and so you can see there's a notch right here, and there is a notch right down there, and another one right down there. Then inside of them, there's been put what's called a pit tag, which is actually the exact same technology that gets used when people microchip their pets. So if we have it in hand and for some reason the notches aren't there anymore, they've grown really big, they've grown out the notches, we can always read it with that pit tag reader, and then we know exactly which turtle that is based on that code that we get back. And then finally, this is a radio transmitter right here. So this, we've attached this to the back of the turtle. This is beeping away right now at a certain frequency, and then we can use a directional antenna and we can get a pretty good idea of where the turtle is in the lake based on the signal that's coming out of this tag.
So these guys, just to give you a sense of our sort of order of operation here, our researchers are going to load them up and then they're going to paddle them over to the west shore where some of the basking habitat is.
I think this is what's really cool about doing what's called ecophysiology. So we're kind of combining ecology and physiology in our research. Old school way of doing things, sort of the bucket spade biologists would come out and they would do long-term monitoring with binoculars, watching the animals and trying to interpret their behaviors, see if they're adjusting to their habitat well. But now what we can do is we can actually get a number. We can put a number on that and seeing, where that number is versus where the animal should be, and then we can really say, well, this animal is or isn't stressed, or it can or can't reproduce right now. Putting resources from reproduction perhaps into finding appropriate habitat, or maybe searching for basking or foraging habitat. So if we can find a nice balance, we can bring that corticosterone level back down, then we can see that they're ready to reproduce, and that'll be the final step in this. We want to make sure these animals are reproducing in the wild, and we were successful in our release.
Yeah.